If you're just starting out with sewing and you feel overwhelmed by all the tools out there, don't worry. I've got you covered. Today, I'll show you all the must-haves for a beginner's sewing kit. So let's get started. I'm going to show you some things that I think are must-haves, and then I'll show you a list of things that I think are nice to have. The first thing that you're going to need is a sewing machine. Now, this is going to be the bread and butter of your toolkit. You don't need the fanciest machine out there. Don't go spending a ton of money. When I first started out, I bought my sewing machine from Walmart. The only thing that I say, the features that are must-haves would be the ability to do a back stitch, which is reverse, and anything that has like a zigzag stitch, which most machines do. And you want to maybe even get the option to sew buttonholes. That's a nice to have. Need a soft measuring tape. These you can get anywhere. They're usually like less than $2. If you can find them somewhere cheaper, even better. But this measuring tape is good to have. It's going to be a lifesaver for accurate cutting and as well as fitting. A clear acrylic ruler. It's 3 by 18, which is really nice, and it's see-through. So it's really cool to whenever you need to be able to see all of your increments, whether it's a 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 inch, 1/8 of an inch. It's really good to have. So you definitely need your measuring tape or your ruler. I say both, honestly, because this can be used with a good rotary cutter. This rotary cutter comes in handy when it's time to cut things out. You can just use it fairly easy, along with a ruler. Next up on the list is your pins and pin cushion. So pins are going to help to hold your fabric in place, and a pin cushion helps to keep them organized. So I've got a couple different ones. So this pin cushion I made myself out of just fabric scraps from different projects that I made. I always save my scraps. I don't throw any fabric away. I always keep it, because even the tiny little scraps is what I use to stuff this pin cushion. So you definitely want somewhere to keep your pins organized. So I have the soft pin cushion, and I also I also have the magnetic pin cushion, which this is really handy. If you ever like drop your pins, you can use this to go over and just, you know, clean it up. Really cool. Definitely on the must-have list. As far as pins go, you can get pins that come in all shapes, sizes, and lengths. I've got just the standard little ones with the balls on the top. I've got these with the little ducks. They're really cute. I got these off of Amazon. They come in different colors. You get the little duckies. They're really sweet. And also, in addition to pins, I like sewing clips as well. These are really cool because if you don't want to use pins, or you want to, sometimes pins can put holes in your fabric depending on the fabric you're using. So I think having a stash of fabric clips is even better. I like to have both because there are times when I use either one. And iron. So I have, my son bought me, this was a gift, is this project iron by Oliso. This is a really cool one because it's got a light on it. It comes with this stand, this base that you can put it on when you're not using it. This one has steam, or you can just do heat. You don't need an iron this fancy. You don't need one. Any standard household iron will do. Just be mindful that sometimes steam is not going to be needed. but sometimes it will. You just have to pay attention to whatever your fabric or whatever your project calls for. So get you a good iron. Iron is nice to have because you're going to need to press seams, and it just makes your project look polished and professional. If you're gonna sew, you're gonna need a needle and thread. Sometimes there are tiny little seams that you want to close up, and you might want to do that by hand and don't want to have to stitch on your machine for whatever reason. So get you a needle and thread. I recommend thread that is, it comes in all kinds of different materials. You can get 100% polyester, there's 100% cotton. Just make sure that you get a good quality thread. Start with a few basic colors like black, white, and a light gray, because a light gray tone is a nice neutral and has a tendency to just disappear regardless of the color that you use it on. So white, black, and a light gray, if nothing else, will at least get you started. Let's talk about the nice to haves. Friction pins, because they're heat erasable. So you can make the mark on your project with these heat erasable pins. And this one is the Friction Clicker erasable pen. So you put heat on it, the ink disappears. So this is a fabric marker. It's got, if you can see that here, don't look at my crusty nails. If you can see here, it's got this little piece of thread that you use to pull it, and it will keep the nub, the little point on there, kind of sharp. So you don't use an actual pencil sharpener with this. This is just something that you use and you kind of tear it down. It's pretty cool. I got this off of, I think, Shein or AliExpress. And that's another pro tip. Shein has a lot, surprisingly, a lot of good sewing supplies. So if you're looking for sewing or even craft supplies, try Shein. A measuring guide. Speaking of, I got this off of Shein. Oh, come on, Clamor. Okay, there we go. So this measuring guide is what I use to measure out the different lengths of my seams, right? So if you can see, each of these has a different width. So this one, for example, from here to here is 5/8 of an inch. And I'll input a better picture of this so you can see it. But this measuring guide is super helpful, and I really, really like it. Something else that's a nice to have is, it's called the purple thingy, even though it's blue. I got these in a pack of 5 off of Amazon, and this thing is amazing. So it has all these different little ways that you can use it. So you can use the top part here across the top. This little part here is exactly 1/4 of an inch. It's got a hole in it that you can use to thread like ribbon, or if you want to thread something else. And the end has this little scoopy looking end on it, which is really nice. I like it because when you get to the point where you start to embroider, or if you need to push your fabric underneath your needle, for example, you don't want to use your fingers. So this is something that I have. These were relatively inexpensive, and it came in like a pack of 5 that come in a bunch of different colors. I'm glad, because I tend to like put something down and then can't remember where it is. So I have a bunch of these, but I think it's actually called the purple thingy. I'll look up the real name and make sure that it's right. Another thing that I got off of Shein, which I thought was super cool, I like this kind of stuff, is a seam roller. And it actually says seam roller on it. So this does exactly what it says, right? So let's say you're sewing a project and your seam, you just want to press the seam out and you don't feel like getting your iron out. Something like this is super handy. And this was like $2, I think, off of Shein. It was really pretty cheap. And I really like it. It's very cool. Stop it, Chloe. Sorry, that's my dog. She's having a tantrum because I'm busy doing something else and not paying her any attention. So seam roller, definitely a nice to have. Next up on my nice to have list is fabric glue, and this you can get it in a fabric glue stick. This is really cool. You want to be very cautious and mindful of the type of adhesive you use when you're sewing, because you don't want to use something that's going to gum up your needle and cause it to stick, get down inside of your machine and make it all wonky. Make sure that it's safe to use for sewing, because not everything is. Pattern weights. These are really cool. I got these off of Amazon, I believe, and they're little bean bags. You don't have to buy these if you've got some really nice painted rocks or like river rocks that are really clean. You can use that. I've seen people use like all kinds of stuff, just something that's got some weight to it, so that when you have your pattern laid down, it's not gonna move when you start to cut around it, right? Another thing that you might want to have, depending on your machine, is a USB stick. This is a nice to have. I got this cute one off of Amazon. Isn't it adorable? Like the end of it comes out and it's like a USB stick. I use this because my machine, my sewing machine and my embroidery machine both can read files. So I can save something. Let's say I bought a project design off of Etsy or online somewhere. I can save it onto the USB drive, pop it in my machine, and I can get started. But I like to keep all of those projects separately on something. This one I got off of Amazon. You find that I shop on Amazon a lot, but it's really cool to have, and it fits very well into my laptop. The problem with this one is this piece doesn't go inside of my big embroidery machine. Boo. But it does fit in my laptop, and it will fit into my regular sewing machine. So that's kind of like a downside. You don't need something this fancy. You can just get any kind of USB stick. Like, you know, that's just something I got because I'm extra like that. All right. That's pretty much it, right? So that's everything that I wanted to go over today for your beginner sewing kit essentials. What's your favorite tool from your toolkit? Or is there something that you're still not sure about how to use or what it's for? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to be able to help you. Don't forget to subscribe. For next week's video, we're gonna do a step-by-step guide to adding pockets to your favorite clothes. I'm gonna show you how to take an existing garment that doesn't have pockets and add some. So that's gonna be our next week's video. I'll see you next time. Don't forget, you can do it because Erin said so. Bye.